Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Yanks the Cop. Tonight we're doing our Burnley vs Liverpool preview. So tonight I'm joined by the usual guests. Got Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Always good. I'll be in and out with Wi-Fi today, but doing well. But big match tomorrow with the outcome today with Leicester and Chelsea.
And always joined by our other host as well. Sophie, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks, honey. Not bad.
Good. And we've got a special guest tonight. We've got Joe from the Turfcast podcast who's going to be giving us the Burnley insight and the lowdown. So it's a special privilege to have you on, Joe. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, all good here. So, yeah, we're just going to dive into it, get straight to the point.
Yeah, why not?
So, Burnley, you look like as if you're generally actually going to finish around like 14th or 5th place. You're pretty safe now. You're completely avoid of relegation. So how's the season gone for you? And when you started off at the beginning of the season, where were you predicting Burnley to come, and how have you felt in terms of the overall season?
Well, last season we finished 10th, and I think you always want to try and improve on what you've done the previous season. Else it'd be daft not to have any ambitions, really, wouldn't it? If your ambitions have just finished 17th every season, then that's not the way forward. So we finished 10th last season, and I was thinking, if we sound some plays and stuff, maybe we can kick on a little bit, maybe try and get to 8th, do well in one of the cups. It's probably the best thing that we could really wish for, with the likes of Villa and Leeds coming up spending a lot of money, West Ham spending a lot of money recently as well. So I was predicting around a similar sort of finish and maybe do well in one of the cups, but it just hasn't really panned out, to be honest. We've had a lot of injuries at the start of the season. We haven't invested, and the season's just sort of fizzled out. We've stayed up, which at the end of the day was the main aim and always is. But when we had such a poor start and only had like 2 points in the middle of October, then we're happy that we are where we are at the minute. But it's a case of brushing this season under the carpet and then forgetting all about it, learning from it, I guess, and then try to maybe start doing what we used to do in next season, maybe try and push for a top half finish again. But we'll see. We have to invest big style, but we'll see what happens in the summer.
So I'm just curious, where do you think obviously, because I was looking at some of Burnley stats earlier on, and I think one of the main areas I've noticed that is you only scored like 33 goals. So do you feel like that is a big major area that you need to improve on to take it to the next level? Like you need a decent striker.
Yeah, well, yes and no, because we've always been a low-scoring side, so it's never really been that big of an issue. But this season, we've not been good at the back, so it now looks like a big issue. This season, we've actually done all right. And the stats don't obviously tell the full story. Obviously, we haven't scored that many. But I think in the first half of the season, we'd scored like a ridiculous low number, like even like 11, 12, something like that. But since then, we've actually done all right. We've scored 4 at Molineux. We obviously beat Everton at Everton. We've done all right, and we scored some goals. Ever since we put Vidra up front with Chris Wood, we've started playing a little bit differently in some games. We probably won't against Liverpool, because if we open up against you boys, then we're going to get absolutely murdered, as we did against Leeds. But we've actually started scoring more goals in the second half of the season. So if we can carry that into next season, then maybe not. No, I mean, I'd like better backup strikers. I think Chris Wood's a decent striker. I think he can play for pretty much anyone outside the top 6. And Vidra's done well with his movement and creating space for Wood since he's come in. But I think Jay, Rodriguez and Ashley Barnes are knocking on a bit now. They're getting past it. So I'd like better backup strikers, if I'm being honest with you.
Just going to go in the chat for a minute. Good to see you, Chris. We were just on the 89.2 podcast, so that's where he sees me again. Good to see you again, Stephen. Ginny20 says, evening, Reds. Good to see you, mate. Alan says, hi, everyone. Good to see you. Alan. Alan Holloway, will Pope be fit tomorrow? Pope's not going to be fit, apparently, so that's a bonus for us. We are going to get onto that with Joe, but apparently he's not. Seamus Moore, good evening, mate. Yes, so going back to you, Joe. So Sean Dyche's coming for a bit of criticism this season at times. Just curious, is the general feeling that Sean Dyche is the right man for Burnley to take you further?
Yeah,
Was it-
100%. The only criticism he's had really is from outside sources. Nobody in their right mind who's a Burnley fan or from Burnley will ever criticise that man and what he's done. We're finishing the Europa League. We finished 7th, for God's sake. Burnley 7th under Sean Dyche. The reason why we haven't kicked on really since then is the board and the lack of investment. We have a new board now, so we're hoping things are going to be a little bit different. Not going to, we're not going to start spending 35, 40 million on players. That's just never going to happen. But we might actually start seeing players coming in. So, Sean Dyche has 100% backing of all Burnley fans. You might get the odd idiot, but, as you do in every fan base. But no Burnley fan in their right mind is criticising Sean Dyche. And like I said, a lot of the stuff was outside, mainly TalkSport, because the way that it is. But, yeah, no one from Burnley is criticising Sean Dyche or wanting him out anyway.
And so you feel that the full Burnley fans all have his backing?
Yeah, 100%. There's no Burnley fans that want him out.
Well, thinking about this game, Joe, how obviously you guys got a great result against us earlier in the season. We have probably our 6th and 7th string center backs in the match. How do you think that Dyke's going to approach this match, and what do you think, in terms of style of play? Do you think you're going to sit in a little bit more and play counterattack, or do you think you're going to try and go out there and get a result right away?
Looking at the Leeds match, I'd rather us sit back a little bit. We tried to play a similar way that we did against Fulham and Wolves against Leeds, and we all know how fast Leeds can counterattack and how good they are on the ball, especially in the middle of the park with Phillips and Klich, however you pronounce it. Obviously, you've got better quality than that, so you don't want to be doing that against these sides. So I'm hoping he's going to sit back. It worked well at Anfield. Obviously, as you say, you did have quite a lot of injuries, as I think you still do, to be fair. So who knows? I think we're kind of fortunate with the penalty. I mean, I do think it was a penalty, but I think we're fortunate with it because that's not what Alisson does. You don't see Alisson making them sort of mistakes. So I think we were quite fortunate with that. It's unusual, though, because you tend to have a better record at Turf Moor than you do at Anfield, especially in the last couple of years against us, because, of course, we won there this season and we drew there last season. I think we're the only team that you didn't beat at Anfield last season. So we've actually got an okay record, weirdly, at Anfield in the last few years, whereas you tend to win at the Turf. So I'm expecting a Liverpool win, but obviously we'll get on to that. But I'm expecting him to sit back and hope for the best, really. But now that we're safe, you might let the leash off a little bit and say they can counter attack. Who knows?
Yeah,
good question, Chris. Go ahead, Saif.
Just asking, as a Burnley fan, because obviously as Liverpool fans, when we play Burnley, it's extremely frustrating when you sit back and play. You park the bus the entire time. There's so many memes about Burnley parking the bus. It's on cinder blocks. But I just think you've just said yourself that Sean Dyche, no Burnley fan's going to want him out anytime soon. He's possibly got Europa, all being well. Hanging on for the last couple of games, great stuff. But as a fan of Burnley, does it not frustrate you when your team plays a low block and parks the bus week in, week out? Because I don't think I could personally watch it.
No, because we don't do it week in, week out anymore. Anyway, we have done in the past. Like I said, we went to Wolves and just high press, sort of similar fashion, not as good as you and Leeds, but in a similar sort of fashion to you and Leeds. Same when we went to Fulham. Same when we went to Everton. We absolutely dominated them and pressed them off the park. You probably think we do it every week because against your Liverpools, against your Man Uniteds, against your Arsenals, do, and we will do it again tomorrow. But there's something beautiful in frustrating Liverpool and making them all create these memes on the internet. There's something really beautiful about a very good defensive performance in that. It's a joy. It's an absolute joy to watch. Obviously, the game at Anfield, and you didn't really have, like I said, we've already discussed your main players and stuff, and it would have probably been different with your main players and potentially even with fans. But to be able to just strangle the laugh out of that game with the quality of players that you have and really frustrate you, it's a joy to behold when it's your team doing it to a big club.
It's not when it's on the other side, because honest to God, I've said it many a times. Every time we play Burnley, that in-betweeners video.
Yeah, honestly, that I don't know why people still tweet it. It's like we've seen it every week for the past 15 years, but still someone will tweet at me, or the page or whatever, every single time. But It don't frustrate us at all. If we did it every single week, then it probably would. If we were sitting back against Brighton and whatever, then yeah, I'm sure it would frustrate us. But we only tend to do it against the Big Six and Leicester and West Ham this season as well. So, but you have to, because if we open up against Liverpool, it's going to be 7-8-0. So it'd be stupid of us to open up against you.
But if you want to be in the Premier League, you can't just sit back and defend.
Well, that's why we're in the Premier League, though. To be fair, because of what we've done for the last few seasons.
But that's not going to get you the Premier League. That's not going to get you Champions League. You're lucky it's got Europa this year in a season that arguably has been very poor to begin with. But
to be fair, a few seasons ago that it weren't this season. We are probably going to finish 16th, but we're not going to win the league. We ain't got enough finances and things like that. So I don't know. It's not something that frustrates me anyway. And if we did it, like I said, if we did it every single week, it probably would get a bit tedious and get on my tits a little bit. But against the top six. If we went to turf tomorrow and opened up against you, like I said, you would have an absolute field day. So we'd be stupid to do it.
I'd prefer that myself personally.
Well, your opinion on this, though. I mean, we talk about all the time how Liverpool is probably one of the clubs that's been impacted most by the pandemic and not having fans in the stands. Like, do you get a sense of that is the same for Burnley? Like, do you get a huge boost from your home fans at your home at Turf Moor? Or is it
I think
kind
so.
of like Man City where they play better with no fans in the stands?
No, I think so. If you just look at our record this season and all the last seasons, like we obviously we do, but we have a very good record against teams outside the top six at home. But this season, we've lost at home to Leeds. We've got trounced at home to Leeds. We've drawn at home to 10-man West Brom. We failed to beat Brighton, Fulham, Southampton, Newcastle. All these teams that we tend to do well against in usual seasons at Turf Moor. So I think that is because of the fans. That has to be. There's no other thing for it. It has to be because of the fans. Whereas in previous seasons we do really well against teams like that. But on the flip side of it, we've gone to Anfield and won this season. Would we have done that with fans? Probably not. We've gone to the Emirates and won this season. Same again. Same with Goodison Park. Same with Molineux. Weirdly, our away form this season has been better than it ever has in the Premier League, but our home form has been worse. So the only overriding factor for that for me has got to be the fans. But thankfully, we're all going. Not all of us. 3,500 are allowed back on tomorrow.
Just want to say in the chat, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button if you haven't done already. I had a good question here that Chris had asked. Like, with Roy Hodgson leaving Palace, do you feel that Sean Dyche will leave you and go Palace? Do you think
I've always said no. I don't feel like Palace is in a good place at the minute. They've got 13, 14 players out of contract this season. So if he's going there, it's going to a massive rebuild. Well, don't get me wrong, he's a good manager and I'm sure he'll back himself to be able to go to a club and do quite well for a team like Palace, even in that situation. But I think if he was going to leave, I think he'd have left previously. I don't think now he's going to leave simply because we have new owners in. So I think he's going to want to see what that's like, whether or not they back him. If the old owner was still here and he'd have a history of not backing him, then I'm sure he'd still probably want to leave. But I just don't think the time's right. And I think a few people in the chat have said Lampard. I think that would be a good fit. Please go for Lampard. Just don't go for Sean Dyche. You could even go for Eddie Howe if you want to. But it'll be interesting to see what they do next season because they have a lot of players out of contract. So they've got a big rebuild on their hands this summer, should I say.
True, some of the points in the chat. Who's behind that stat? Says, evening, guys. Hope you're well. Good to see you, mate. Chris, I think Lampard will go Palace. Ginny 20 said Lampard is a shout. Alan Holloway says we need Dr. Pepper to sponsor Sophie. Chris Welch asks again, if Dyche was to leave, who would you want as his replacement, Joe?
It's not really something I think about because I don't think Dyche will be leaving. I won't want to do. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. We're not going to get a big name in, so you're going to have to look at people doing well in the Championship. Chris Wilder maybe, but he's not got a good record with signings and money, especially this season. Of course, they finished bottom. So, in truth, if it wasn't an option, I could choose somebody that I think would come to Burnley. I'd love Steven Gerrard. He's done such a fantastic job at Rangers, but there's obviously no chance. But that's the point. There's obviously no chance of that happening, is there? He's not going to leave Rangers and come to Burnley. So it is what it is.
I think there's more than just Dr. Pepper in that cup of Sophie.
I'm sorry. I was not expecting Steven Gerrard to come out of his mouth. I don't know what name I was expecting, like Joe to say, but the minute he said Steven Gerrard, I just didn't. Sorry, that was funny.
but that's the sort of when you're finishing 10th in the Premier League and 7th out of the last 4 seasons that we have done, then there's no reason why we shouldn't be thinking like that. But of course, it's not the way that we do it. I just know it isn't. Then even Eddie Howe, obviously I know he's already been at Burnley, but I wouldn't want Eddie Howe because of his style of play. Some people might like it. I particularly don't. I think he's too open. But it is what it. I'd like Wilder maybe because it's very similar to Dash, but again he's had a poor season, so there's question marks over him. So it's not something I've thought about, to be honest, because I don't really want Dash to leave, so it's not something I've thought about.
I just want to apologise for that. I didn't mean that as like a laughing at you, like it's never going to happen. It just was the shock that you said.
To be fair, it won't. I even did say that in the build up to it that it won't happen, but I'd like him. So I do agree with the fact that it won't happen. To be fair,
but it does make sense though. Like really, if you think about it, if Gerrard wants to come and get Premier League experience, he needs to go for like a mid-table type team before he starts. Hopefully, eventually we'll get.
Yeah, like he's not going to go Lampard and get a big job, get the Liverpool job, for example. Obviously, Lampard did okay at Derby. He ultimately failed at Derby. Then he somehow got the Chelsea job. Yeah. So he would need to go to a Burn, probably someone maybe a West Ham or something like that if Moyes were going to leave. I think he could walk into someone a little bit higher up, probably knocking on the European places rather than lower to mid-table. So that's probably why I don't think it happened, to be honest.
You never know. Watch this space. It might be like 2 seasons from now, Gerrard signs as a manager for Burnley, and I'm sat here going, "Oh my god, what?" Joe sat there going, "Told you."
It would be a no pressure move for him. It's like, what are people expecting you? As long as you keep Burnley up, you'd be fine. But
that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. Stay up and then push on after that.
Going back to the game. So how are Burnley going to approach this game? Because obviously, will fans in the stands kind of like make a difference, or will the players be on holiday mode? Like,
looking at the Leeds game, I think they're already on the beach. To be honest, they were on the beach against Leeds. It's a bigger game for you than it is for us because you've actually got something to aim for. You've got your top 4 to aim for. I don't ultimately think you'll get it, but at least you've still got a target to try and get. So honestly, I don't think you will. I think tonight's result. has ended that. To be honest, I think.
Shush.
Yeah, because a hot take.
Did you just override that first official shush?
Who have you got on the last day of the season, actually? Who have you got on the last day of the season after us?
Palace. Home.
You never know then. You never know, to be fair. But
that's a hot take.
Yeah, because who've Leicester got then? Who've Leicester got?
Spurs.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to stand by it, but I didn't think you've got the run of fixtures there. But I'll stand. You have to beat us tomorrow. It's massive. There you go. Going back to your first point, then it's massive tomorrow. The result now, game now. So yeah, you're more likely to go for it than we are. You've got more riding on the game because we have absolutely nothing riding on it. So we'll see. But I think it's more likely, like you say, that there's more on it for you than it is for us. So.
Well, just going to. I'll come back. I've got a question I want to ask you, Joe. I'll come back to you. Just looking at the chat. 1892 Red Podcast says must win game now versus Burnley. We need to put the Palace game in our hands for top 4. 1892.
Don't you dare read Ricky's comment house.
Sophie, Jenny out.
We're not entertaining Ricky's comment. We're going to block him in a minute.
Shoma says Stevie G to Burnley. You heard it here first. That's what Joe said. 1982 Red Podcast says the lineup would be Alisson, Trent, Phillips, Williams, Robert, Thiago, Fabinho, Milner, Salah, Marnie, Bobby. Stay safe, guys. I think he's off now. Good to see you guys. Who's running that stat says great show as always, guys. I think it will be tough tomorrow. No pressure on Burnley, and they have their own fans in the stands. If we win tomorrow, then top 4 is ours. I'm thinking the same. And then Chris says Dyke's done a brilliant job at Burnley in 2014-15. Got relegated from Premier League. Could have easily got another manager in Dyke, but they stuck with it. Consistent manager of the league. Alejandro Wahomey, how can you do that to Sophie? Garden leave for you now. Oh, I think it's the shift back. That was accidental. It wasn't intentional.
You know what, guys? This is just becoming a little bit of a conspiracy theory, I think, right now. I finally get access to my shush button and he overrides me.
I was pressing the same button at the same time.
Andrew used it against me. You're horrible bullies on here.
The Mark Flanagan says another test for Williams for Phillips. Burnley are going to try and bully them. So just wanted to go back to the game, Joe, for you. This could be Burnley's first chance since 1929-30 to have a double with Liverpool. Is that going to change your approach to the game and think, well, let's try and win this game?
No, I don't think anyone's going to. No professional player looks at that and thinks, "Oh, yeah, wow, I could." Not James Tarkowski is not going to look at that and think, "Oh, I can't wait to do double on Liverpool." Is he? No, he don't care. So no. Just go back to the point I made in the last question. It's a bigger game for you than it is for us. You'll approach the game and try and win it. We'll just field an 11 and they're already thinking about going to Cavos or whatever it is they're going to do in the summer, aren't they? So yeah, it's just going to be you from the off, us. As Sophie said earlier, probably sitting back and then maybe trying to hit you on the counter, but we'll see. Or try and get some set pieces in, and as one of your viewers said there, try and bully the centre half with the set pieces. But we'll see. So,
what's the Burnley lineup going to be for this game? Do you reckon the formation you're going to go with?
4-4-2. Shock. Unfortunately, as you said earlier, Nick Pope's injured, so Bailey Peacock fouling goal, which is a massive miss. He's not good enough for the Premier League, but that's a different debate. Charlie Taylor at left back, Ben Mee, Tarky in centre, Matthew Lawton at right back. Then on the left, it'll be Dwight McNeil. In the middle, I'd like to see Westy and Brownhill, but it'll probably be Westy and Cork, with Goodmanson on the right, maybe, or maybe Brownhill on the right if it's Westy and Cork in the middle, and up front, Chris Wood and Vidra.
Fair enough.
It's always the same.
It's all
because honestly, we've got no squad depth whatsoever. If we had the amount of injuries that you had, we wouldn't even be fielding the team. We'd be forfeiting the league.
Honestly, it's so funny because normally when you ask people like, "Oh, what's your lineup?" Like, there's a bit of thought about it, and you just went, "No, it's Tarkowski and Ben Mee."
Yeah,
no,
100%.
Off like second nature.
Well, it's the same every week. Sorry, go on.
Based off that lineup, based off what you know from this Liverpool team, Reece Williams, Phillips in the back. Our front three has been not clinical at all this year. From the Burnley perspective, you win the game if what happens. What matchups do you win on the field in order to get the 3 points?
We win the game if Nick Pope makes a miraculous recovery and we don't have Bailey Peacock Fowler in the net.
Hey, I will say, though, about whoever your backup goalie is, I forget his name. No matter who we play, goalies put in their best performances against Liverpool this year. So I'm not ruling it out that he stands on his head and becomes the next Alisson.
I don't want to start slating Bailey off too much because I got a lot of stick on Twitter for it, and I've pretty much done an hour-long podcast slagging him off. So I don't want to go into him again too much. But the stats are quite damning for him. He's played a few games for us. He's actually conceded more goals than he's made saves. He doesn't come and collect crosses like Pope does. But when you've got a goalkeeper as good as Nick Pope, it is going to be difficult to be as good as him. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a class goalkeeper and he could play for one of the top 6 teams. Like, I'm sure he could go to Tottenham or Arsenal and fit into their side quite. Everton, I know they're not top 6, but he could go to sides like Everton and West Ham quite easily as well. He's a very good goalkeeper, but yeah, I think it's another Joe Hart situation for me. I don't know if you remember a few years ago we had Joe Hart in the net, and even though he wasn't really doing anything wrong, the stats were against him. We were conceding, we were losing. It's a similar thing when Bailey plays. He doesn't really do anything wrong. Like, he doesn't throw the ball at back of his net or drop it like Pickford does. But we concede a lot of goals and we lose the games when he plays. So we'll concede a few tomorrow because he's in the net. But for us to win, Bailey has to have a worlder out of nowhere. He has to. Whether he's been clinical enough or not, he has to come and start collecting these crosses, because when the keeper collect crosses, your defence in your field gets deeper and deeper and deeper to try and supplement that. When Pope is coming collecting the crosses, the midfield and the defence can get higher up the pitch and get ready for the counter, whereas that doesn't happen when Bailey's playing. So he has to suddenly change his entire game, and then we're probably going to have to hope that Vidra and Woody have a decent game. And the midfield too as well, because the midfield too were just... They might as well have been in Cavos against Leeds. They were nowhere to be seen. So quite a lot has got to happen. Or maybe we just frustrate you again like we did at Anfield. One of your lads makes a stupid mistake like Alisson did, fouls somebody, penalty, 1-0, take it all day long. But I can't see it tomorrow.
Well, Chris Wiltshire has another comment in the chat here. what are your thoughts on Vydra from what he's seen so far this season, starting to show what he's made of, and he has been good as of lately. So, what are your thoughts and the fans' thoughts of his performances?
Yeah, well, it's been a frustrating one with Vydra because we've had him for like 3 years now. This is like coming towards the end of his third season. He's never really had a chance. He's never really had a run in the team when a lot of fans have wanted him to. For the first time for the last 3-4 months, he's actually had a run in the team. And although he's not scoring a lot, it's his movement that's creating the problem because Chris Wood is the best striker that we have. And he's the clinical one. If you give Chris Wood a chance, 9 times out of 10 he's scoring it, especially the form he's in at the minute. Whereas Vydra's making these moves and making these runs, and he's creating the space for Woody. So Woody's now getting easier chances and chances that he's more likely to score. So I'm well happy with Vydra. I like Vydra. I want him in the team. It could be more clinical. You might see it tomorrow, but he has this weird move that every time he gets through on goal, he decides to try and cut it back and take the keeper on and do this weird thing. It's like, just hit it, man. It could be better in front of goal, but his movement is really helping the side at the minute.
Okay, so moving on to the Liverpool side. Obviously we've just seen that Chelsea beat Leicester 2-1. So that means that I think Leicester have gone to 29 goals and goal difference. And that leaves us, I think it's then 20 on goal difference. We're 1 ahead of goal Leicester. So how are you guys feeling going into this West Brom Burnley game? Start with you, Steve. How are you feeling?
I mean, it doesn't change anything. I mean, it's always been in our hands. We win both games we go through, regardless of what happened today. No, I feel pretty good. And I agree with Genie 20 and Chris Welch. I think being on the road with fans in the stands, even on the road, I think that even helps us. We have a team of performers. So I think that we'll play a little bit better with opposition fans in the stands. But listen, I mean, we said it yesterday on Doug's podcast. I think this is our hardest game left. This is a better version of West Brom. And I think that if Chris Wood had the opportunities that West Brom had against us to score, he probably scores 2 or 3 of them. And he's definitely going to have his opportunities tomorrow. He's going to get at least one chance to score. So for me, that's really my concern is, defensively, can we limit our mistakes and not let, Burnley get any easy chances. But then on the offensive side, I think it's going to be a very, very similar game to that West Brom game. Like we're going to have to be creative again. We're going to have to break down their low block, and we're going to get a handful of opportunities to score. But the biggest question is going to be, as always, as it's been this year, is can we be clinical enough to get a goal or two? Because I think it's going to take more than one. I think I don't really have confidence in getting clean sheets anymore. So it's just, can we go get 2? Can we go get 3 goals? And that's going to be the story for me leading up watching the entire game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. What's your feeling, Sophie?
I pretty much same as Steve, to be honest. I understand why everybody wanted a Leicester win, but I actually wanted a Chelsea win today. I mean, our ideal situation would have been a draw, a point each. That would have been ideal, really. But I think a Chelsea win for me isn't the worst thing, because if you look at the table now, we are ahead on 1 on goal difference, and we are going to, if we win tomorrow, we're on equal points and we go ahead on goal difference. Even if we score 1 goal, we are ahead of them on 2 goals, and we've seen how important goal difference can be, and that's what it might come down to this season. So for me, I just kind of feel like if we get through tomorrow's game and get 3 points at the end of it, then top 4's pretty much. I'm not saying the words because I'll jinx it. But, going into Crystal Palace, I was on Zarne's podcast earlier on today, and I was saying that I'm not afraid about Crystal Palace. We're back in Anfield with 10,000 angry Liverpool fans who are going to want to be there. They're going to be making the noise of 56,000. It's going to make absolutely no difference whether there's 10,000, 2,000 or what. It's the last game of the season and it comes down to the wire. But I definitely think tomorrow, this result today benefits us heavily. But we can't go in resting on our laurels and sitting there going, oh, well, now we just kind of need to get through. Leicester opened the door for us a little bit. Things are a bit easier. I think the minute we let that mentality slip in is the minute that we will lose or concede. We need to go into this game like we went into the United game, where it's a must-win game. Because right now, game tomorrow is the importance of what United was last week. That's it. We need to go into this game like it's a Champions League final, that our lives depend on it, because otherwise Burnley are just gonna get lucky, aren't they? We're just gonna rest. We're just gonna sit back one too many times, and they're gonna punish us for it. So, like Steve said, we just need to be extremely clinical, and we need to own that midfield and really make sure that if they get any form of set piece, that we are able to just clear it away. Don't care how you do it. Don't care if it's a clean hoofing away. Just hoof it away. And I think that's the biggest concern for me with Burnley is the set pieces, because we just don't have the height, really, or the aerial skill to fend off any set pieces from Burnley. And we've seen this season, particularly corners are not our friends. So it's just being clinical and just taking this game like it's the most important game we'll ever play. And I think that's a mentality that the lads have just got to have.
Yeah, yeah. So I agree with you there. I do think, Burnley ability to set pieces is a concern. I think they're 13th in the league for most goals at set pieces, and they've obviously got a 22.5% area dominance in the Premiership, the best at set pieces. So that is a concern. I do feel that in this game against Burnley, we're going to have to be at it from like the first few minutes, because like I said, it's going to be a battle. And whether it's getting an early goal or just be in the game and not concede early, I think will be the key. Because I think they are going to target Williams as the person that they might potentially see as the weakest link. Just going in the chat.
I think they're all going to target Reece, aren't they? Everybody's going to target Reece. He's the youngest one. I think that goes without saying at this point.
Yeah, definitely agree there. Go in the chat. Chris Wells says, "Don't worry, Joe Bailey. Don't watch. Bailey's going to have a worldie against us. Typical." And Dick, I guarantee Burnley will turn into prime Brazil. Ginny says, "With fans, it gives us more of a chance, in my opinion." Chris Wells says, "We play better with fans in the stands, stadium, whether it's fans or not." Shumis Moore said, "We have to take our chances to not concede early." Good to see the Mike Red television, mate. Good to see you guys. Mark Flanagan says, "Yes, Chris Wood, danger man. Wonder we asked for being playing at centre back with Phillips. I would not."
This is why you don't play Fabinho at centre back. So Fabinho and Thiago, 7 games together in the midfield, 6 wins and a draw. Huge mistake if you play Fabinho at centre back. Huge mistake.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we'll struggle to win if we play Fabinho at centre back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so this is. Do you guys see this as mission revenge? Because obviously we were shocking in that Burnley game at Anfield, and it was disappointing as one of the kind of lowest points we had in the season at Anfield, where we lost to Burnley, and we went out in that game in a whimper. We didn't play at all well, and we never looked as if we were going to win that game. So do you feel that for you, Sophie, this is mission revenge to get Burnley back, or do you see it as another game?
Just another game, because look, at the end of the day, when we lost to Burnley at Anfield, it was the height of our injury crisis. Like we didn't know which way we were, up, down, left, right. We had no idea what was going on. It was just a whirlwind of pain and immeasurable suffering on the Liverpool fan part. So no, I'm not even angry about it. I'm not even bothered about it. Like, it's a result that happened. You can't change it. It's like talking about the Villa 7-2 result. Like, you're not bothered about that anymore, are we? Like, you're all over it. It's happened. You deal with it. I think the more you hold a grudge about a result in a game of football, the more it negatively impacts you. Because you're going in being like, I need to make amends for this goal or this and that. I think the more you do that, the more pressure you put on yourself, just as an individual, not even on a footballing aspect. And I think the lads need to just go into this. It is just another game, but it's a very important game. And just wipe the slate clean about everything that's happened before. It's happened. It doesn't impact. What impact now is those 90 minutes on that pitch, not the 90 minutes that happened 4 or 5 months ago. They're irrelevant now. It makes no bearing on whether we get top 4 or not. So for me, no, I'm really, really not bothered about getting revenge. Because at the end of the day, I always want to win. I always want our team to win. So don't I always want revenge in that sense? I just want to batter Burnley anyway. I just like to batter. I just like it when Liverpool batters everyone.
Yeah, I sort of agree. Yeah, I agree with most of what you said there. It's definitely not a revenge game. Like it. I mean, but I don't think it's just another game either. This is a cup final for us, and kind of like what Chris Welch says here. You know, we had a nice moment on Sunday. Now it's back to business. No cup of tea and biscuit attitude. Like we need to go out there knowing that our season's still on the line. Like, and everything that happened on Sunday doesn't mean shit if we don't go out and get the 3 points tomorrow. So we need to like. I want to see that attitude, and I want to see the fact that like. The guys are playing like there's no tomorrow because there is no tomorrow for us. Like we have to go out and deliver. But yeah, so like revenge game, no. And so I think for me, it's more of just like, despite losing to Burnley earlier in the season, despite losing 7-2 against Aston Villa, we still have a chance to secure Champions League berth. And like, that's the most important thing to me. And that's what the mentality should be with the team. And I think that is what the mentality is going to be with the team.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. When I said, it's just another game, I didn't mean like, oh, it's just like another nonchalant game. Like, it is a very important game, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's another game, just like that game. This just has more importance on it, but essentially, it's just another game of football. At the end of the day, you want to win, don't you? Regardless of what happened when you played them in the last fixture, it doesn't matter. You just want to beat them anyway. So that I didn't mean it. It doesn't mean not tomorrow because it's obviously very important.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture because I didn't want revenge a bit because on Burnley they embarrassed us on the field. They did embarrass us, and I won that. And plus, I think we need to get a couple of goals tomorrow, just for the goal difference. So, and that kind of leads me on to my next point, like because a lot of people are saying that now that Leicester lost, that potentially we could go in with a draw and a win the last two games. Like, does that change your mindset in terms of how you approach tomorrow? Are you going in, we have to win, get the two wins, the final two games, and rack up the goals? Or are you thinking, well, Spurs might take points off Leicester, so if we get a draw tomorrow, it doesn't change?
Don't rely on Spurs to do anything. That's, and that's why I would have rather had Chelsea lose. Like, if Chelsea lost or drew, we'd be ahead of them on points, not just goal differential. Like, we need wins regardless. Whereas, if Chelsea lost and then we win, then you can think about, okay, like then we could potentially draw and Chelsea wins and we still get through type of thing. But no, I think now you have to go out and play like it's send out the army, send out the troops, anyone who's available, the best players that are available got to play.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like the minute you say, oh, well, X amount of things like that, and you start having that doubt creep in and going, oh, well, I hope this team drops points around us and I hope this, that. The minute you start relying on other teams to do your job for you is when you're no longer got the right mentality, in my opinion. I feel like every team should always want to go in and be like, right, okay, if other teams drop points around us and help us out, brilliant. But this is Liverpool's top four to lose. It is firmly in our grasp right now. If we get these next two wins, we stand a very, very good chance of getting it. But at the end of the day, you can't rely on any other team to do you favours because it's the Premier League. No one does anybody favours. Nobody is there going, oh, well, I like that team. Or we're in seventh now. Or let's give Liverpool a chance at top four because they don't care about Liverpool's chance at top four. They'd love nothing more than to see Liverpool crash and burn to the Europa, knowing how much every fan would hate it. Like, we'd rather not have Europa at all than go into Europa League football and play Thursday night. Like, I'd rather just forfeit it if we got there. So, no, I'd never rely on another team to do me work for me or to help my team out. It's my team's goal, games to win. And if Liverpool don't do that, then it's on Liverpool's fault. But you can't rely on Spurs and not to do you favours because I don't care. We wouldn't do it for them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think I've been saying all along we have to go in and win both games, and regardless of tonight's result or the last few games, it's in our hands. And if we get 2 wins and we score a couple of goals, we get top 4. Because I just don't feel that Leicester are going to score 3 or 4 goals against Spurs for the final day. I just don't see it. So I think like if we can get to.
Without Tottenham scoring too, you got to think about that. Tottenham's going to get a goal or two against them for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's all in our hands. Going back to the chat, Dan Bailey says Burnley will look to keep it tight and narrow. 2 banks of forward, no space in the pockets, and then look to pick up the second ball and dominate set pieces. Definitely agree with that. They're going to be doing that. Ant Dicko says, don't forget Burnley have fans tomorrow. They're going to be bang up for us. Maya Red says, no, Chris Welch, no, move on. Andy Holloway says another final for us.
Let's not read that one. No, let's not. It's at the web at. No, I didn't read that one.
Shaver says we have to win tomorrow and not even look at results elsewhere. It's win or bust at this stage of the season. Totally agree. And Ginny's 20 is going for Liverpool 2-0. Good night, everyone. Good night, mate. So, obviously,
the chat's on fire, by the way. You guys are awesome. Keep it up. And if you haven't yet, we're one away from 360 subscribers. Help us get there tonight. That'd be huge.
Yeah, and smash that like button as well. Going back to the game, I just wanted to ask you guys. So, we saw against West Brom, Liverpool again missed a host of chances. There's the Mane one, there's Firmino one, and with goal difference being a big factor, we can't be constantly kind of relying on always Salah being the one to score goals, because there's going to be probably one of these 2 games where he might not score, even though he's going for the Golden Boot. So, is the form of Mane and Bobby still a worry for you going these last 2 games in terms of us getting the goals we need to have a good, healthy goal difference? Start you, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. It's just for everybody. I mean, even Salah, he's scoring, but it's taken him a few chances to score too. Like it's the entire team. Like Trent missed 2 great opportunities. Gini missed a great opportunity. Mane missed a sitter. Firmino missed an open net, hit the post. Like it's the entire team. Like somebody other than Salah and Alisson need to step up and get some goals here. If you have to put Alisson up top for a little bit, so be it. Whatever, let's run him out there. Let's run him up there, get another header or something. But yeah, it's definitely a concern. I think that's why I kind of wanted to ask Joe. Like, I don't know how much you've seen of Liverpool lately, but it takes us 15 chances to get 1 goal. Like, do you feel like you're kind of facing not only just like a wounded soldier, but just like it seems like a good game for you to have your backup goalie in, because we cannot score to save our life.
I think, like I said earlier, I think if Pope here, it might be a bit of a different story, because out of your 15 chances, I'd expect Pope to save like 14 of them. But with Bailey, I'm not sure I can say the same thing with him. It's probably good for you that he's there. That if you're not as clinical as you have been recently, that might help you with your clinicalness, and then going into the final game of the season, some of your players having a bit of confidence. But yeah, you've definitely not been as clinical as the last 2 seasons, so that's obviously a benefit for us. But our last game against Leeds, they had 6 chances, they scored 4 of the 2. He saved. So it's interesting to see what will happen. But I think it's good for you that he's there. I think, rather than the other way around.
Yo, big love, shout out to you, man. I think you just got us to 360. Appreciate you. And Chris Welch, dude, you're the GOAT, man. You're the GOAT. We always appreciate having you in here. And anytime you're feeling down, you always know where to come. We always got you.
See, I'm just a bit annoyed with Chris, actually, because I'm waiting for the day, the normal comment of no hugging, no kissing, no looking at each other in the tunnel, like go and smash each other on the pitch. I'm waiting for that comment that normally comes up.
He put it. It's right here. We had a nice moment Sunday. Now back to business.
The one. He always says the same thing, and it makes me smile when he puts it, when he turns around and goes, no hugging, no kissing, don't look at each other, none of that fannying about it.
It's true. Chris Welch is good for that, and I love how he speaks the truth all the time. It's awesome. Love his opinions.
So obviously Liverpool got a really good track record at Burnley the last couple of games. We won 5 of the last 6. Does that bode well for us? The fact that we've won the last 2 away games as well. That it's not Anfield, and that although they've got fans there, we have like good track record of getting points at Turf Moor. Does that bode well for you both?
Honestly, I think what bodes well more for me is just like our recent form in general. I think like the last 6 games we have the most points in the league, and again, it's a little different. It's not a full crowd. I think for me the biggest thing is just the fact that it seems like the last couple of weeks we're starting to get that sense of belief again. that, even when there's no time left, we can go out and get a winner. So I think for me, that's the bigger thing. It's not so much that's at Turf Moor. It's more of we're starting to get the results like we used to, and never say die kind of attitude, and not hanging our heads all the time when the going gets tough.
I totally agree with that. What about you, Soph? How are you feeling in terms of?
I think Steve just hit the nail on the head there. I don't really have anything else to add to it. I think if anything I do add, I'd just be rephrasing what he's already just said. He's just said it perfectly. Really, there's nothing else. I think he summed up how most Liverpool fans will be feeling about that. So well done, you.
Keep giving me all that praise. I appreciate that. It's almost like this Yank knows what he's talking about.
Yes!
Fuck off. Fuck off.
I have been waiting patiently for some chance, a very slim chance.
He tells me to shush after making a point that she 100% agree with. So can't win. Can't win going forwards.
It was for the arrogance afterwards, like, oh yeah, this Yank knows what he's on about, like the shush.
I'm a Yank. We're all arrogant.
So we all know obviously what the team news that's come out. So what's your lineup? So we're gonna go differently. What is your lineup gonna be in the match, and what do you think Klopp's gonna line up? We'll start with you, Soph.
Normal back four. Thiago, Fabinho, Milner. If Milner's fit, if Milner's not fit, it will be Gini, and then Salah, Mane, Firmino. There's not much else you can do. Really, we've got no squad depth. We've got no one fit. We've got none. What I think Klopp will do is I think Klopp will start Gini instead of Milner. And then if Milner is fit, like this is a big if Milner's fit, he might bring Milner on as a sub rather than start him because obviously he's been injured. I personally would rather have Milner on first, like the first 50, 60 minutes, just so we've got a captain on that pitch, on that field. So we've got in the middle of the park. But I don't think what we say our lineup would be much different than what Klopp would actually do because he hasn't got much of a choice, has he? That's like going to a pick and mix and there only being 3 flavours. And like you can only pick what's there.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna return the favor here. I 100% agree with everything Sophie just said. Spot on. Exactly. Completely agree with that entire assessment. So I'll echo that.
Maybe that's absolutely amazing Scouser.
Just going in the chat here. Joe, you got a new subscriber. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Nearly at 500 now, so 12, whatever. I think it's 12 more, 16 more. I can't remember. So if there's 16 in there and you want to open,
yeah, do make sure you give Joe a subscribe, and give him some love. Yeah, I think I agree with everything. I think the only thing,
No.
You still get Milner in your team.
No, I just don't like the way Ricky just decides he just hates Gini all over.
No, I think I would go with what Rick says in terms of Milner, Thiago, Fabinho. Because I think we're going to need some leadership.
I said I'd go with that as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to need some leadership. All right, so moving on, we're going to go into our predictions. So we're going to start with you, Joe. What's your prediction for tomorrow's big match?
I'll say the same as I said on our podcast. Because we're on the beach, it's more of a game for you. You're going to be more up for it. It's just another game for us. You need to win. So I've gone for 3-1 Liverpool.
Ooh.
Sophie?
Fucking hope you're right.
I'm sticking with my big brave assessment of 3-0. I just think the lads are going to want to go for this, aren't they? I don't know.
That's my thinking. You're up for it. We won't be.
I just think you've got nothing to gain from this game whatsoever. And you said it before, Joe, at the start. Like, your lads are already on holiday mode. Like, their heads on the beach already thinking about that well-deserved break. Their season's pretty much, signed, sealed, delivered. It's done. What have you got apart from risking yourself for an injury? Or are you just going to try and really just hinder Liverpool for that final bit? But I can't see our lads wanting to give up when it's this tight, close to the wire. I just see them wanting to go for blood for this. So I'm going to be a big brave girl, and I'm going to go for 3-0.
What about you, Steve?
I said on Doug's show yesterday, I think we're 2-1 Liverpool, back to that stuff. So I'll stick to that. 2-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I've said 2-1. I think it's going to be the same again, 2-1. A few other people in the chat are saying like 1892 podcast saying Liverpool 2-0. Seamus says 1-0. Gareth says we always here for you, Chris, Welsh legend. If you're down, mate. Jordan Santos says 4-0. That's a very confident prediction. So yeah, we're going to move on to a bit of trivia. So here, what we always do at the end of Yanks the Cop is do a bit of trivia, Joe. So to make it a bit more fun. So we normally like to call it trivia time. So if anyone in the chat has any good trivia questions you want to ask, put it in the chat. Otherwise, I've got a few that I could ask you guys straight away. So the first one, if you had 5 lives, what would you do differently that you wouldn't do if you had only 1 life? Start with you, Joe.
I don't know. Drive ridiculously fast around like BMX places or something. I don't know. It's something like a rally. I do more rallying shit. I've always liked racing into cars, but I've never actually done anything with it. So I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I like that. I would do I would drive really fast. Honestly, I would I would try a couple crazy ass. I was
going to say jump off a building. I thought
I was going to say jump off a building, jump out of a plane, have someone shoot me, just see what that's about, just so I know shit. But this is pretty grim.
Well, that's what I thought. I was going to say jump off a building. I thought that's probably a bit much.
All right, they don't have to always be grim.
Jump off Radio City Tower to make it trivial for you lot. Topical for you lot.
I feel like you all went for a really happy one, but the first thing that came to my mind, it's a good job Andrew's not here because he just shouted at me for what I think. If I've got 5 lives, I don't know if I should say it because I feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I do.
You're gonna be a serial killer, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, yeah.
I want to see if I can get away with it. If I've got 5 lives, if I get caught, what does it matter? Because I can just come back in another life and be like, okay, doesn't matter. I've tried it, but I do it on my last life because then I wouldn't feel the guilt. But I'd well give it a go. I think I've watched enough crime shows that I could well do that.
I'm really not surprised by that answer.
Mine was I wanted to break into Buckingham Palace or jump off big.
What's wrong with me?
The highest skyscraper ever, and see what it's like to fall from that high. Jordan Santos said to sleep with Donald Trump's wife. Okay.
No.
You could have picked someone better.
You could have picked any woman, and
you could have picked someone decent looking.
The woman who's been railed by a Watson.
Joe, I'm actually curious on your answer to this. Our boys at 1892 Reds podcast, as a Burnley fan, would you rather get relegated and win the FA Cup in the same season or just finish every season in 15th?
If you'd asked me that 10 years ago, I'd have said win the FA Cup, but now I'm probably going to say finish 15th. The FA Cup's lost its... I didn't even watch it this weekend. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'd love to win it, don't get me wrong, and I was mega jealous of Leicester for winning it, but what I want to get relegated like Wigan did, and obviously they've not been back since, and they've gone into loads of administrative trouble and stuff. If we got relegated from the Premier League, that could be us. We could go into League One and not come back. So I'd love to win it, don't get me wrong, and I'd put a big tweet up saying I'm really jealous of Leicester and stuff, everything they've achieved in the last few years. It weren't long ago that us and Leicester came up from the Championship in the same year. 2 years later, they won the Premier League. So yeah, I am jealous of them for doing that, but no, I won't want to get relegated. No.
The next trivia one: if you could explore anything, Indiana Jones style, Lara Croft style, where would you go first? Start with you, Steve.
Well, what was that?
If you could explore anything, Indiana Jones or Lara Croft style, where would you go first?
I I would have to say, like either somewhere in like the deep like Amazon rainforest, or like if I could somehow get inside one of the Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah, I was going to say pyramids. That's what I was going to go. First thing I thought of were the pyramids. And then if you had your 5 lives, it wouldn't matter if you fell upon a curse or whatever or got crushed. So happy days.
Yeah.
Sophie?
Area 51.
Yeah, that's a good show.
Area 50, not like because I'm just intrigued as to what they do. Like I don't believe in aliens or none of that crap, but something's going on inside there that they don't let everybody know anything about.
You don't believe in aliens?
No.
So I don't know. Obviously, I know you don't keep up with American stuff, but they're declassifying all of our like videos, knowledge, everything we have on UFOs, which is pretty substantial. One of the senators who oversees one of the states said that like we need to start taking UFOs like as a serious threat, like because a lot of people don't know. And then when we had a podcast question about what other podcasts we listened to, my brother and I said Joe Rogan. He had somebody on that claims that he worked at Area 51. And he talks to him for 2 hours about some of the stuff that he did over there. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Right. Look, the only reason, if these aliens are that intelligent that they are able to travel through the galaxy to our world, right? We can't do that. We can't get out of our solar system. We can't go we can't even get to Mars, which is the planet next door. We can't even get to that.
Yeah.
There are aliens, but they're that intelligent that they can get to our world, and not at one point have they thought, let's take over. Like, no, if you're that and the first thing they want to do is abduct people and probe them and then send them back. No! It's absolutely, like, I'm not saying that for 1 second that there's not other life out there somewhere, because there's got to be. We can't be the only life force in the entire universe and the entire galaxy. We can't.
Yeah, but we're just not like we could just be not developed enough. Like they could just like be like doing research on us and just, you know what I mean? And then just like obviously they know they can crush us with the snap of their fingers. They would absolutely maul us. But like that doesn't mean that they don't exist. Like I would actually bet that they've made contact with us already. And that like
Can I have a shut the fuck up button, please?
So
you have
okay,
control now.
I want to shut the fuck up button. I want to shut the fuck up Steve button. That's what I want.
So before let's go away for a conspiracy show. So my one was going to be find the City of Gold, the Aztec City of Gold. See, that's actually true. Otherwise, the last one I had was: would you guys rather live permanently in a roller coaster park or live in a zoo?
Zoo.
Yeah, zoo.
Zoo.
Animals.
A roller coaster park could get boring fast, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't like roller coasters.
I don't understand roller coaster. You know, you can't ride the animals.
You look so happy when you said it as well.
You can't ride the animals.
I don't like roller coasters. I'm scared of falling.
Blackburn fans do.
Shade.
Horses specifically.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. I think that's a good place to wrap up on a high there. It's been a pleasure having you on, Joe.
Thank you for asking me. Come on.
Giving us good insight on Burnley. We wish you the best of luck next season.
Please come on next season, mate.
Yeah.
Before every time I go on someone's show up until 2 weeks ago, everyone said, "Oh, come on next season." I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I might not be Premier League next season, so you might not want to speak to me." But yeah, I'll be on next season, mate. See you next season.
Hell yeah.
We're happy to return the favour. You ever need some scousers on yours to do you?
Yeah.
I'm the only scouser here. Easy guys from London. Shut up.
We used to do preview shows, but we stopped doing them. But I think we're going to bring it back next season. So yeah, I'll if I do bring it back next season, then you'll definitely be the first.
Perfect. Yeah, just give a shout. Otherwise, everyone in the chat, you've been amazing as always.
Yeah, I'm right, Alan.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Alan. Yeah, everyone in the chat has been amazing. Do make sure if you haven't done, smash that like and subscribe button. Help us get this channel out to more people, get more people on here. whether they're Liverpool fans or not Liverpool fans, doesn't matter. And otherwise, everyone else.
Tomorrow. 3 shows tomorrow.
Yep, as Stephen says, we've got 3 shows tomorrow. We've got the team reaction show. We're going to have a special guest on that one, a big special guest. So check out that.
Massive special guest for the team news show. Make sure you're there. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and then we've got the watch along after that to show the match live. Then we've got the match post-match reaction. So got a big show tomorrow, big shows tomorrow. And obviously we've got Friday's final word on Friday. Then we've got the Crystal Palace preview on the Saturday. Then we've got
another stuff on Sunday. We'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there. So, people don't think that far ahead in advance. We're homie. Let's take it one day at a time. Let's focus.
I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight.
I don't know. But I am like 5 hours behind you.
Right. Take care, everybody.
Oh, that's it. Everyone, take care. Up the Reds.